Okay, great. So good morning. Thank you for joining us for our second webinar series. Today's webinar is called Water-Wise Gardening Water Management Practices. My name is Christian Salgado, and I am a community education specialist for the Climate Smart Ag program that is part of the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources. And I'm located at the Cooperative Extension in Imperial County. Today, my co-host that will be joining me and helping me with all the technical support is Shulami Schroeder, and she is a cooperative extension community education specialist up in Bakersfield. So she'll be helping you. So either I or her will be responding to any of your concerns via chat. The intent of each webinar is that we would be building slightly on the knowledge of each one. So I hope you're interested in attending all of them. If you are unable to make the webinar, don't worry, we are recording all our webinars and they'll be shared on our UCCE website. The first webinar, if you attended, is already posted and you're able to access it on our Cooperative Extension website. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping. Again, if you have any questions, gardening related questions, technical questions, you are all on mute. So you'll have to put those in the chat and both Shulami and I will respond to those. And all questions will be answered at the end of today's presentation. We are on a time limit, so we're just gonna try our best to kind of answer as many questions as possible at the end of today's webinar, which will give us about 10-15 minutes. Today's presenter is Dr. Ali Montazar, and he is the University of California Cooperative Extension, Irrigation, and Water Management Advisor. I will allow him to introduce himself as well as get started on today's presentation. Ali, would you like to begin?
Sure. Thank you, Christian. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Montazar. I am Irrigation and Water Management Advisor with UC Cooperative Extension. So I'm serving Imperial and Riverside counties. And I'm also helping San Diego County because currently we don't have irrigation advisor there. But about today, so I'm trying to discuss some tips and information about water management in home gardens. So we all live in desert. So we know about the importance of water and water management in the desert. Perhaps for us, water management and water is more important than any other region in California. So what we need to know, we know the importance, but we need to know how to manage water more efficiently. So I will go through in this webinar to discuss with you some information. So next, please, Christian. Mm-hmm. So I will start with some irrigation principles, and they are very important because any irrigation and water management effort, it's highly depending on this concept. So we need to know what they are. So one of the terms is very important for irrigation is evapotranspiration, and we also call it ET. So the evapotranspiration is the water loss from the soil surface as evaporation, and water loss from the plant material and leaves as transpiration. So there is two terms here, but it's really difficult to separate these two terms. That's why we came up with evapotranspiration, which is the total amount of transpiration and evaporation. So evaporation is non-beneficial water use. So which means we don't like it. That's why we put mulch on the soil surface to reduce the evaporation, the water loss from the soil. So as much as we can reduce this evaporation, so we are more efficient. Putting mulch, straw, rock supplies on the soil surface, they are all good because we reduce evaporation. But transpiration is important because the crop productivity and health of crop, it depends highly to transpiration. So we don't like to reduce transpiration. So transpiration, several factors affect transpiration. Solar radiation is the most important. So we are in desert region, which means we have a lot of solar radiation. That's why we can produce a crop the entire year because we are in high solar radiation. Temperature, if temperature goes up, the transpiration goes up. If we have windy days, the transpiration goes up. So high humidity decrease transpiration. For example, in San Diego, we don't have that much transpiration compared to desert. So the available soil water is another factor. If there is no water in the soil, basically crop cannot use it. And that's why crop will be under stress. So we need a certain amount of water to crop can use it without any stress. So that's why we need to do management, irrigation management, to maintain the soil moisture in the certain levels. And the other factor is the plant type and growth phase. So after 10 days after seeding, so crop needs a specific amount of water. But 50 days after, crop is in full canopy, needs more water. So which means over time, so the needs of crop, the water needs of crop is changing. So next, please. Thank you. So generally, as I mentioned, so a crop needs is a function of plant type. So if you have Mediterranean and native plants, so they are generally drought-tolerant plants. But if you have any other vegetables, fruit trees, pods, full season turf, or vines, they are high water user crops. So we need to pay attention to this. If we are talking about producing vegetable in home gardens, which means they need water. They are not native plants. So we need to take care of that and be efficient. So to put as much as we can water crop needs and conserve water. So next, please. So we can apply water in many ways. But what's important is we need to do proper water management because the proper water management, basically water management is a powerful tool for optimizing plant health and conserving water. But just remember, it's not everything about conserving water. There are a lot of plant disease or water-related issues. So if we do a good job with water management, we can reduce the plant disease as well. So we need to do a good, efficient irrigation management, which means applying water at the right place and the right amount. So before everything, we need to understand how much water crop needs, because that's the baseline and the benchmark for us. So the water crop needs is a function of the location. If we are talking about San Diego or a city in Northern California, so the water requirement for a specific crop is entirely different from that crop in the desert. Plant type, if we are talking about spinach or wine grape, they are two different crops. The amount of water needs are entirely different. The maturity, as I mentioned, 10 days after seeding and 50 days after seeding is different. If the plant goes to maturity, so needs more water. And of course, exposure, which means if you have shaded area, so the water needs is entirely different from open field. Please, next. So when we talk about water management, we need to separate two things and take care of each one. One is about irrigation system, which means the system we apply water. So the other part is how we manage water in that system. So they are different. So please don't confuse on these. We have irrigation system and water management. They are two different things. We need to manage both. So when we apply water, we can just apply it easily with a hose. Very simple application method. But the problem with the hose is we cannot uniformly apply water. We don't even know how much water we apply. So when we don't know how much water we apply and how we apply, we don't have any control on that. So that's why we cannot manage it perfectly. So if you have a sprinkler irrigation, that's an efficient irrigation. But sometimes our field or backyard is very small. If we go with a sprinkler, probably we are wasting some water. So perhaps For home garden, soaker hose or conventional drip irrigation are the best way to apply water. Drip irrigation is very high efficiency. Everything is under control of you. So if you know how to manage drip irrigation, you're probably able to improve irrigation efficiency by 90%, 95% sometimes. It's very high efficient. Next, please. But regardless which irrigation system you have, to improve irrigation system, we always need to take care of the system. We need to upgrade system. But it doesn't mean always you need to do a major upgrade or changes. Sometimes just a small modification improve your irrigation efficiency. For example, replacing and adjusting just a nozzle, aligning the heads, changing the space and location. They are all helping you to improve your irrigation efficiency. Sometimes you need to reset your control, upgrade your control, irrigation control. If you are in North California, you have a lot of rainy days. Rain sensor is part of your system, but not in the desert, because in the desert we have just 3 inches of annual rainfall, about 3 inches, and it comes just a few days. So rain sensor is not a very important sensor for us. But the soil moisture sensor is very important. I will talk a little bit more later, but if you have a soil moisture sensor in your garden, you can manage water more effectively. So locating and repairing the leaks, sometimes just small leaks over time. So it makes a difference and you are losing a lot of water over time. So it's good to fix even small leaks. And of course, hydrozones. So in your backyard, some parts are shaded, some not. You have different crops. They need different amount of water. You always should go to with hydrozone, which means the crop needs more, the same amount of water should be in one place or around, next to each other. So in that case, you can manage water in different zones differently, and you can conserve water. Next, please. But sometimes your system doesn't work well. So you need a serious upgrade. The age of irrigation system is old. The system is not that efficient. So you have a better budget and you want to conserve water. So in that case, you need to do some major modifications. Next, please. So that was all about irrigation system. So we learned, so drip irrigation soaker hose is the best, probably the best irrigation system for garden or home gardens. So we learned this. But how we can manage water? So if we want to manage water, we need some information. We need answer of this question. I need to know how much water I should apply. Doesn't matter which irrigation system I have. So how often I have to apply? How deep I should apply water? So am I over irrigating or under irrigating? And how many start times I need? So there are all the questions, regardless which irrigation system you have, you need the answer. And that's water management. We need to answer those questions. Next, please. So when we talk about irrigation management or water management, soil is the major part of that. And the reason is because there is a significant interaction between soil type and soil water holding capacity and water availability. And there are major components for irrigation management. So if you look at this soil texture triangle, we see 12 different soil types. We see clay loam, medium loam, silty loam, and different stuff. So the soil texture is a function of the percentage of the particles, different particles of the soil. Which part is silt, which percentage is sand, which percentage is clay. For example, if we have silty clay loam, it means we have about 60% of the particle silt, about 20% sand, and the rest clay. So it makes a big difference. If we have a sandy loam or silty clay loam, So we should do irrigation management entirely different. It impacts everything. So next, please. So I will try to go with example here to understand what's the difference, really what the difference is. So please look at soil as a water storage. When irrigation event, you just fill this water storage. Crop use the water, and you again, during the next irrigation event, you refill that storage. That's all. That's all about irrigation. So when we talk about storage, we need to know how big this storage, the volume of this storage is. So the volume of this water storage is a function of the root depth of your plant, the effective root. And we all know every crop has different root depth, and it makes a big difference. So since we are working with turf and vegetables probably in home gardens, we need to know they are all shallow rooted depth, which means we have a very small volume water storage for our soil. About 12 to 18 inches depth, that's the effective root depth for the vegetables and turf we have. So we don't have that big storage. So we need to be very careful and cautious about irrigation. So if you have a sandy loam, so the available water after each irrigation is about 1.25 to 1.4 inch of water per each foot of the soil. That's all. If you have a silty clay loam, we have a bigger room. It's about 1.8 to 2 inches of water per each foot. So that we have a bigger storage. So which means if we have a sandy, the difference is about 40%. It means, so the water storage of silty clay loam is about 40% larger than sandy loam. So obviously, it is a point here. It means if we have sandy loam, we should go with this practice. We should more frequent irrigate, but in each irrigation, less amount of water to apply, because we don't have a big storage. If we have a silty clay loam, we go with less frequent irrigation, but a large amount of water in each irrigation, and it makes a big difference. So we really need to know which soil we have in our field. So I recommend highly just take a sample from your soil from at least the top 2 feet of your soil, sent to the lab, and take this information. It helps you a lot, and you can be very efficient, and you can see the effect over time. How it's easy to manage irrigation if you know which soil you are dealing with. Next, please. So soil moisture is another tool. So if you want to do a good, smart irrigation, really conserve water, we need to know about the soil moisture and soil water status. Of course, you can just take some soil by your hand and touch it and say, okay, I think it's wet, or that's the time for irrigation. But as I mentioned, irrigation is not only the topsoil, it's about the root zone. So when you have 2 feet root zone, you cannot take all those in every irrigation and touch it and say, okay, this is wet or not. It's not about soil surface. Just remember, it can mislead us, because in the desert, the soil surface is going to be dry fast because of the high solar radiation we have. So sometimes if you look at just the soil surface, it misleads you. The soil depth is wet, but the surface is not. So it can mislead you, for the timing of irrigation. So soil moisture, you can say, you can tell you as an indicator, so when is the right time for irrigation, or even how much water you need to apply, or even if you have soil moisture in multiple depth, it can say you, okay, you pass the crop root zone and you are over irrigating and you have deep percolation. So it's difficult if you don't have this sensor to find out, how you do irrigation. Next, please. So very effective tools for irrigation management. One of the other effective tools you need to know, it's about the crop water use or evapotranspiration. You need to evaluate how much your crop needs water. And there is tools for it. So you might heard about CIMIS, or California Irrigation Management Information System. So it's administrated by Department of Water Resources. In California, they have over 150 weather stations. So every day report the weather data, including ET values, so evapotranspiration. So you can obviously go to that website. That's a free tool. So in Imperial Valley, we have 3 CIMIS stations with long-term data. So we have Calipatria CIMIS station, we have 1 station in Sealy, and 1 station in Meadowland, right in our research center. So depending your home located in which area, you go to CIMIS website, you have the link on the top, and you look at you look at for the station. If you are in Calipatria, just go with the CIMIS station with Calipatria and take the information you need, including evapotranspiration for your region. So it gives you the on-time data from yesterday to every time you want for 3 years later. So every day, if you go to the website, it gives you the information by yesterday. The other way is just go to our Ag Brief newsletter. Every month, UCCE, we have Ag Brief. We publish Ag Brief newsletter. The last page of Ag Brief newsletter, I developed a page, so it gives you information about the CIMIS station of these 3 stations. So I did calculation based on the long-term data, 30 years data of these stations. So it gives you the average amount of ET for every 15 days of different months. So please go to that page, and based on where your home located, you can, for example, if you are in the first 15 days of July and you are in Calipatria, so the ET is about 0.32 inches a day, the first 15 days of that month in Calipatria. It gives you, it gives you some information. So the amount of probably my crop needs. Next, please. But what I would like to mention here, and that's very important because sometimes it may mislead you. The number of ET comes from CIMIS is the grass ET. Grass, well watered, well managed, healthy grass. But it doesn't mean you have that in your backyard, right? So which means the ETO from CIMIS is the maximum evapotranspiration for that region. It doesn't mean your crop needs that amount of water. Your crop most likely needs less than that. So that's why we have that equation here. The ETO is the ET, the evapotranspiration comes from CIMIS. You multiply that amount in a crop coefficient, KC. So the KC is individual for each crop. If you have onions or wine grape or spinach, so they have different crop coefficient, and it makes a little bit difficult. So the ET is crop ET. You need to do some calculation here. So I'm at the process of developing crop coefficient for the cropping system we have in the desert. So please call me if you need information, the updated information for crop coefficient of your crop. I will provide you the most updated crop coefficient for each cropping we have in the desert. So next, please. So what I would like to mention here, so your crop needs less water than CIMIS ET, okay? But the bad scenario is you go with the CIMIS ET, but still it's okay. Even if you go with CIMIS ET, you don't lose that much amount, that much water. But if you want to go more efficient, probably it's better to go with the crop coefficient and multiply that number in ETO. So now we learn some irrigation principle. Let's do one exercise about drip irrigation scheduling for my vegetable in my home garden. So if you want to do irrigation management for drip, you need to follow 3 steps. First of all, you need to know how much water you need per day or per month for your garden section. I have a section of my garden. How much water I need per month or per day or per week? You need to know this number. The second step is to determine how many emitter or drip lines you need, or even you have. And after that, you need to find out, okay, which day I have to irrigate and how many hours.
Taking a picture of that.
Huh?
I took a picture.
Yeah. Next, please. So we go through all these three steps. Next, please. So I have a simple equation on the top, dark blue. How much water per period I need. That's a simple equation. But just you need to find out what are that numbers. So we have two brackets here. We divide the first bracket to the second bracket. The first bracket is in the top, ETO, is the amount of ET comes from Siemens station per day or per month, per period. You multiply that in crop coefficient or crop landscape. Because if you have landscape, it's different from different vegetables. The planted area, how big is your small field or big field? Multiply 0.623. That's just a conversion factor. Don't care about that. That's not important. And also we have irrigation efficiency. You need to know how efficient your irrigation is. But that's not a big deal. If you have drip irrigation, you should be 90 to 95% efficient. So you already know, the efficiency of the system. So one example here. So if we are in November in Holtville, so the average ETO for a Holtville in November is 0.12 inch a day. So if you go to our website, to AgBrief, you find that number. It's not a secret. We have that. You want to plant vegetables, and the crop coefficient of vegetable, for example, for spinach, in November, in whole field area should be about 4.6. I can provide those numbers to you. And you have a small field about 20 feet by 7 feet, about 140 square feet. That's all you need. So then we go to water requirement for November. The equation I have, 0.12 inch a day. In November, we have 30 days. We multiply 30. The crop coefficient is 0.6. The planted area is 140 square feet. Multiply 0.6 to 3. And divide it to the irrigation efficiency. I'm assuming my irrigation efficiency here is 94%. I put 0.94. If you do just math calculation, very simple, you see a number comes out from this equation is 200 gallon per month or 50 gallon per week. So you found how much water you need. It's very important to know how much water you need for your field. Because if you don't know that, you cannot manage irrigation. So that's the first step. We just find out for that vegetable, for a spinach, in November, in whole field area, for a small field, 140 square feet, I need 200 gallon per month in November. Next, please. That's the first one. The second part is the layout and the irrigation system. So I have about, it's 7 feet wide. So it means you should use at least 4 to 5 drip lines for that, wide field. So if you have 5 drip lines, the length of your field is 20 feet, we already know. It means you have 100 feet drip lines, okay? That's important because you know how much drip lines you have. Just remember, this is just example. When you go to irrigation supply, there are plenty of choice for you. Different drip lines, different emitters, different of everything. That's your choice, and it doesn't make any difference. Each drip line you have, you need to find out each emitter, how much is the application rate of each emitter. Here, I have emitter of 0.5 gallon per hour. That's the number you need. You can even ask from the irrigation supply, okay? And also, the distance of 2 emitters from each other is 1 foot. If you have 100 feet of drip lines, and each emitter application rate is 0.5 gallon per hour, it means, and the distance is 1 foot, it means with this system, you can apply about 50 gallon per hour. That's the application rate of your irrigation system. So you found 2 numbers very important. How much water that field needs, how much water this drip irrigation system can apply per hour. There are 2 major numbers for irrigation management. You want to do it. If you have these 2 numbers, you have everything. Next, please. You combine just this information. You need 200 gallons per month in November. Your system provides 50 gallons per hour. And you have, assuming you have a loamy soil type, of course, in Holville area, we have a lot of clay loam and loamy soil type, and your soil is not different. Next, please. So if you have this, let's do some irrigation management. That's your choice. When you have these 2 numbers, you have a plenty of scenario. You need to find out which one works for you better. So I can apply water every 7 days, which means for November, 4 times per month. Every irrigation event, I turn on the system 60 minutes. If I turn on 60 minutes, it means I can apply 50 gallons. I need just 200, which means I need just 4 irrigation events every 6 minutes. That's all. That's all about irrigation management. If you go with that, you can do a good irrigation management. But if you have a sandy soil, I mentioned, you need to apply water more frequently, which means 7 days probably is too long. Let's go with 5 days because I need more frequent. I'll go with 5 days irrigation, every irrigation 40 minutes, because the amount of water I need, that's the same amount. Just I do change the strategy of irrigation management. So, you may hear from someone, okay, if you have sandy soil, you need to apply more water. That's not right. You need the same amount of water. The point is you need to do a good management to don't lose that water from the percolation. You need just more frequent but less amount of water in each irrigation event. Next, please. So I'm going to summarize what we learned. So we create a hydrozone because we can apply water more efficiently. We apply the right amount of water we need. So we learn how to calculate and estimate how much water my crop needs. So we already know. So if we do a good job, we can avoid the depercolation and runoff. And if you do that, you can improve your irrigation efficiency. Do irrigation in the early morning to lose less water through evaporation. We know evaporation is water loss, non-beneficial water loss. So we do irrigate more uniformly. So if you do more uniformly, you improve your irrigation efficiency. You adjust your irrigation, you reset irrigation control when the weather changes. Because summertime and fall time, they are different stories. You do regular maintenance of your system. Sometimes even a small leak make a difference over time and you are losing water. You apply mulch to control evaporation. And of course, we have different color of mulch and your field and your backyard looks much beautiful. And if you have soil, sandy soil and clay, adding amendment is necessary. And even if each soil, this organic amendment like compost, peat, and wood chips are important. you know, if you have sandy soil, so your infiltration rate is high, you are losing a lot of water. So if you add this amendment, you can improve the soil, water, and nutrient holding capacities. If you have clay soil, you have increased the porosity and permeability of your clay soil. So that's all about healthy soil and improvement. Next, please. So in this slide, I have some resources for you for drought management and water management. So the first two resources are about irrigation scheduling. So there are a lot of good information there. So please, if you have time, just look at those two resources. The resources 3 and 4, they are a great information developed by UC scientists about drought management, about farm drought management, and everything you need to know about water management. So resources 5 is about soil moisture monitoring tools. There are a great information. How do you choose, you know, some sensors we have. And resource number 6 is great resource for you if you have a good landscape and you want to do a good water use planning. If you want to choose a plant for your landscape, that's a good source. So please look at that resource. Next, please. So thank you all for being part of this webinar. This is my contact information. So please send me email or call me with any question from today or in the future, or any help about ET, or you know, about sensors, about water management, any question you have about your home garden or even agriculture. So please call me and I will be happy to answer any question you have here.